Hey there internet, my name's Luxander, and today we're going to talk about a few of my favorite things. I posted last week about my mental health and how it's been doing and how I've been feeling about the channel, and there were a lot of really nice comments. I very much appreciate a lot of them. You're very supportive, and that's appreciated, and you all also gave me some ideas. Some of them were more serious ideas that I have put on the list of ideas to delve into again at some point. But a lot of you were indicating that you would be interested in, like, fluff, non-serious content, and a couple of you asked some personal questions about, like, what some of my favorite things are, and I thought that I would oblige by talking about that stuff. Particularly, I know that a lot of you are interested in finding out what kind of YouTube stuff I watch, and I will answer that towards the end of this list. The user 4StringsAOK had a question that involved wanting to know what some of my favorite things were, and I picked a couple of those particular things out of there. So they asked favorite food. So favorite food, I would say, is mashed potatoes, because it's a comfort food. When I was a teenager and had really bad depression and had trouble eating, my dad would make really, really rich mashed potatoes. Like, he would leave the skin in and make it with heavy whipping cream like it was an ordeal, so that I could eat something and get a decent amount of nutrition, or at least some, like, calorie content out of it. So to this day, mashed potatoes are kind of like a comfort food for me. And cinnamon rolls. I also really love cinnamon rolls. There's very few times that I will turn down a cinnamon roll. Favorite color? My favorite color is blue. Anytime where there's very little particulates in the air, if it's like the middle of the day and at the zenith of the sky, the deepest blue that it gets during the day on a clear day. 4StringsAOK also asked about music. Like, what's my favorite kind of music? So I listen to a lot of nerdy white guy rap, I think, is a good way to sum up how I feel about music right now. I used to be one of those kids who was into My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and Paramore, and I still like that kind of music, and especially as a couple of those bands have continued to grow and develop and their music has changed. But because a lot of that music is very emotional and it's tied to that person that I was when I was a depressed teenager, I couldn't really listen to it for a long time, and I still have a hard time. And I actually spent about 3 years in my adulthood, like, not listening to music at all because it was too emotionally evocative. Happy songs made me sad, sad songs made me sad. Like, it was a whole problem. And I only got back into music with comedy music, to a point now where I can listen to more emotional music again. But I still prefer, at this point, to listen to comedy music or clever wordsmith kind of music, not as much with the like, emotional kinds. So I will listen to Ninja Sex Party and Starbomb and Tim Minchin and Bo Burnham and a lot of other different kind of stuff. I also like WoW parody music, particularly by Ember Izolta. So I would say that those are the kinds of music that I purposefully seek out, but I enjoy good music from most any genre. I enjoy good country. I enjoy good rock. I really like pop rock, like pop alternative rock that would have been popular in, like, the early aughts when I was growing up. That's, kind of the vibe. Maybe not the early aughts, maybe the later aughts into the early 10s. I don't know how time works anymore. User Davuzel asked what my favorite fiction series was in the course of their comment, and I would say that probably my go-to fictional universe is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. I've mentioned it before. The first book is called Aragon. If you saw that movie, I'm sorry. Please purge it from your memory because it is bad and not representative of the source material at all. I would list that one as a favorite because I started reading Aragon when I was, like, maybe 10. I was 10 or 11 maybe when I first got my copy of the book Aragon. It's been a fantastic book series, and we have it on audiobook, and we listen to it almost every night as we're going to sleep because it's been something I've read and listened to so many times that I can pick up anywhere at any point in the series and still enjoy it and be able to keep up with it, and it doesn't distract me too much for me to be able to sleep. So I've listened to it literally countless times. It's not perfect, it's flawed, there are no gay people or trans people, and as an adult now looking at fiction, if there is a universe where there are no gay people or trans people, it's weird because we exist, and it's just strange to me if we are not present in those stories. But it's a series that deals with race allegories very well, and it, I think, in a lot of ways challenges patriarchy. It's one of those fantasy series where the society that it's based in is fairly patriarchal, but by the end, there are women in positions of power, and maybe things will get better and change in that continuing story. Like, who knows? And obviously the other fictional universe that I spend a lot of time thinking about is George R. R. Martin's World of Ice and Fire. I am reading the 5th book currently, and I have spent a lot of time watching videos, breaking down things, going into fan theories. And again, it's one of those universes that's weird to me because of there's queer representation to an extent. It's very rarely explicit in the text. It's more like, I know in the text that this person, XYZ, is gay because of the TV show having more explicitly established it, even though there are hints to look at in the books to indicate that. So it is another one of those systems where it is patriarchal, and it, doesn't need to be patriarchal and work through that in that way, but it does it fairly well, at least in an interesting way. So those are the two sort of fictional universes that I spend the most of my time thinking in, and especially looking at the hard magic. I think it's considered hard magic system in Inheritance that my partner and I can spend literally like an hour and a half debating how something works in that magic system. And I have tweeted at Christopher Paolini to tell him about the things that I'm like literally lying awake at night thinking about the magic system and how does this work and how does that work. And I texted him, or I tweeted him that, and the author was like, it keeps you up at night. What do you think it does to me? It's just, I spend so much time thinking about it, and it's really good. I like it a lot. If you haven't read it, I would recommend it. I think it, especially the 2nd book, teaches you a lot about skepticism and logic, and it's just really interesting. Also, the dragons in that book series are fucking amazing. You get a POV chapter, or you get many POV chapters with a dragon, and it has changed the way that I have thought about things. And all of the rest of this is coming from a user called Deviant Olum. Podcasts. Do I listen to podcasts? What kind of media do I like to take in was kind of the basis of this question. Podcasts are not something that I have usually been actively into. I have over the years had a couple that I will listen to for a period of time and then lose interest. I used to listen to Cognitive Dissonance, which is an atheist podcast that was like kind of rough around the edges, and they cussed, which it was abnormal to me at the time when I first discovered it. So I used to listen to that a lot. And around the same time, I also listened to the Godless Bitches podcast, which I believe was an atheist community of Austin project that I think that in the last year they've talked about reviving it, but I haven't checked up on that, and it hasn't been active in a really long time. And then more recently, I have a friend who is into this D&D podcast called The Adventure Zone. It's by the same people who do the podcast My Brother and Me, which is apparently like a big name podcast. A friend of mine recommended that one to me many years ago, and I never listened to it, but I have been listening to the Adventure Zone podcast to have something to talk about with this friend, and my partner started listening to it, so it's very interesting podcast, and I have been learning about D&D, which, someday I would probably like to play D&D, so that's, those are some podcasts that I listen to. Generally, I'm not huge into podcasts. I think I would like to be, but I would want to find ones that I'm interested in and that are informative for me personally. So if you have any podcast recommendations, leave them below, because I have a commute every day now and need to fill the time. Deviant Olum also asked about music, more in the context of, do you use streaming services or do you go to concerts and that kind of stuff? I don't really use streaming services because I'm kind of particular about my music. I want to listen, most of the time, I want to listen to music that is familiar. I don't often go out of my way to pick up more music, although I will go through phases where I want to listen to the radio a lot because I want to know, I want to have my finger on the pulse of the culture, and I want to know what new music is coming out. And so I'll do that sometimes, but most of the time I'm pretty particular. And in the past, when I've tried to use streaming services, it was set up in such a way that you picked like a song and then it would go off of that to try to find similar music. I'm sure that there are new things now where you can pick an artist and it'll just play a bunch of shit from that artist, but I don't necessarily even like every song from the artists that I like. There are Starbomb songs that I don't want to listen to, even though the majority of their catalog I do enjoy. So instead of streaming, I tend to download music, purchase music, or I have the YouTube Premium app, which has the ability to have like videos downloaded on a separate little playlist, and that's frequently how I listen to music compared to streaming. Now, concerts. I don't often go to concerts as an adult. I went a lot more as a kid because my mom was going to concerts, and so I went to see Metallica, and I saw Creed was my very first concert. When I was a teenager, I was more interested in going to see the bands I wanted to see, so I saw My Chemical Romance on 2 different occasions. More recently, however, about a year ago, my partner and I went to see Ninja Sex Party in concert, and they were playing with Tupperware Remix Party, Twerp. When I bought the ticket, I thought that it was just Twerp and Ninja Sex Party, and both of them put on great shows. It was a good fucking time. However, there was an opening band before Tupperware Remix Party that I actually found out the show that we went to see was the first time this new band had played and joined their set. And the band is called Planet Booty. Planet Booty. Okay, so Ninja Sex Party is kind of like a comedy sex song band with musical influence from the 80s. Tupperware Remix Party, I don't know how to categorize their music, although it can be somewhat sexual in nature as well. But Planet Booty is like all of the sexual energy from Ninja Sex Party, but it's not a joke. I mean, there are jokes in their songs, but it's predominantly a lot more like sexy and interesting. But they also have like uplifting songs that are that you really get into. So just random happenstance, I went to see Ninja Sex Party and Planet Booty played there, and I about fucking cried because they opened the show by acknowledging non-binary people. Like, hey ladies, hey guys, hey everybody in between, and I fucking almost cried. It was great. So great, in fact, that 2 weeks later, Tupperware Remix Party was playing another show nearby with Planet Booty as their opener, and we went to see Planet Booty and then met them at their merch table and bought stuff and then left without even seeing Tupperware Remix Party. I love Planet Booty. They're very good. Concerts are, however, a very taxing, physical, emotional experience, and they're expensive, so I don't go very often. I'm an introvert. It's a lot of effort. If Planet Booty ever comes by again, I see you boys in Oakland. Come back to this area in the Midwest. I want to see you again. Come back. Moving on, this person also asked about going to the movies. Like, do I go to the movies? I do go to the movies sometimes. Again, it's expensive, and it has to be a really interesting movie for me to go to see it and not wait to see it. We went to see the first Jurassic World movie in theaters. That was a cool time. I think we saw the Star Wars, one of them or both of them, in 3D, maybe. That was a lot of fun. It's again another one of those things where you're going out and there's a crowd and you don't know what other kind of people are into the same kind of stuff as you, and it's just I go to movies. I just don't enjoy the whole thing about going to the movies, but I do like watching movies. Netflix and Amazon when they come out on those platforms. And finally, the thing you've all been waiting for, and many of you have asked periodically over time. What YouTubers do I watch? And this person specifically asked if there's any YouTubers that I watch religiously or just some that I watch when the mood strikes. So I will start with big YouTubers, since those are, it'll be like, oh, of course you follow XYZ people. So let's talk about those. I really like, and by the way, also I'm going to say before I get started on this part, that none of this is to be interpreted as an endorsement of anyone else's content or endorsement of them as people or of their channels. I'm just telling you what I enjoy watching, and take it with a grain of salt, and to also take into account that I'm not always watching people uncritically. I sometimes will watch people with the intent of learning what's going on with them, or I'm interested in keeping tabs on what kind of influence they're having on the community and stuff like that. So if I say I like watching ContraPoints, understand that that is a complicated thing that I have said, and I enjoy her content, but it does not mean that I fully endorse everything she says. Content creators like ContraPoints, PhilosophyTube, and HBomberGuy, they only post like once a month, and basically every time they post a video, I go watch it, at least within a couple days, because it's a theatrical production a lot of the time, and I find them interesting. Especially HBomberGuy. He was the first, like, left tuber that I found, because he was a leftist shit poster, and I fucking loved that. So I really like HBomb because he was sort of my gateway into the rest of these leftist communities, and again, he's like a shit poster, but someone who shares my perspectives broadly on things, so appreciate it. I also still follow a few gaming channels. I really like watching Game Grumps videos, not necessarily everything as it comes out day by day, but I'll revisit old playlists of theirs. They're wholesome boys, and I like them. I also really like Markiplier and his videos and his channel. He's always been a really positive person, and when you watch, like, a heist with Markiplier or a date with Markiplier, you, as the audience, are a person in the story, and they refer to you with they pronouns so that anyone could self-insert, but it really just makes me feel like they're talking about me. It makes me happy. Sometimes if the energy is right, I will also watch Jacksepticeye, but as far as gaming channels, I think those are the only ones I really actively look at anymore. Other trans people on YouTube that I follow, again, we're talking about big channels right this minute. I really love Cat Black. I've followed Cat Black for probably at least 5 years. I'm not 100% sure how long I followed Cat Black, but she's amazing. I really like her. And the other ones that I still regularly follow are Jammy Dodger, Jamie Rains, and Ash Hardell when they do occasionally post videos. I'm also subscribed to a couple of smaller trans YouTube channels that I follow, like Celeste M is a channel, and Gwen No Fear. I feel like I should be more actively into other smaller leftist channels. I do watch Peter Coffin's videos. I like a lot of what they cover on their channel, especially with their wife on Adversaries. Good shit. I'm also subscribed to Thought Slime and a couple others, but I don't watch them as regularly, much to my chagrin. I should spend more time doing it, but Thought Slime put out a video recently that I really liked, so I'll probably watch more of their stuff. Totally unrelated, Fact Fiend with Carl Smallwood, also a very good channel, very good facts, positive information, like 100% you're getting what you signed up for whenever you click a video with a title. It's absurd sounding a lot of the time, but it is exactly what it sounds like whenever you click one of their videos. Very good stuff. Steph Sanyati is another trans YouTuber that I watch. How could I forget Steph Sanyati? And I also really like to watch Even More News, Cody Shoddy, Fair and Balanced TMC. I'm probably leaving a lot of channels off of there. I also, like Coors Gazette, CGP Grey, other educational channels like Today I Found Out, It's Okay to Be Smart. I don't watch those as religiously, but they exist on the internet and I'll go watch them sometimes. Crash Course, SciShow, all that kind of stuff. Just not as active of interest. So I think of course, like I said, I'm like probably leaving things out that I should not have left out, but broadly, that's what I watch on YouTube. Those were all of the fluff questions that I could find in the comment section of my last video. So that is gonna be it for this video. I really appreciate everybody's comments once again, not only you leaving me ideas for what to talk about, but also being generally supportive. It's appreciated. It does make a difference for you to positively comment. It does make me feel better when you guys tell me how I'm helping you. That also makes me feel better. So again, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to do a fluff video. That's going to be all for me today, though. If you like this video, please give me pretty analytics to look at and comments to read. Find me on Patreon, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications if you feel like it, and I really hope you have an okay day. Bye! Speaking of favorite things, my patrons are some of my favorite people, especially The Gay Agenda, Ela Stewart, R. Halverson, Gretchen Becker, Wellington Marcus, Pinesnake, Elizabeth Bartell, Jess Zendrex, and Mr. Atheist.